So with the new M2 Competition, we want to increase the racetrack performance of the M2, and therefore we have changed some things in the powertrain, but also in the chassis setup to get a better performance on the racetrack. The first point is that in the front of the car we changed the engine, so we now have the engine of the M3 and M4 with now 410 horsepower. That means 40 horsepower more than in the base M2, and also 50 Newton meter more than in the base M2. That increased the acceleration of the car from 4.2 seconds to 100 with a double clutch and 4.4 seconds with a manual gearbox on one side. And on the other side we can also offer the driver's package with now 280 kilometers per hour. We changed also the strut. We take the carbon strut from the M3 and M4 into the car, and with this effect we have more driving precision on one side in the steering, and the car is much more confident for the racetrack performance. To increase the racetrack performance, we also have the option of a sporting brake. That means a 6-piston brake on the front axle with 400 millimeter diameter and a 4-piston brake on the rear axle with 380 millimeters. And this increased the racetrack performance, but also the setup of the DSC, but also MDM mode. And we have nearly the same characteristic and setup like we have in the M4 and M3 CS. So it's much more comfortable, it's much more precise, you can slide more with the car. It's much better to go on the track with a new setup of the DSC and also of the MDM for the track performance. We changed the philosophy of the DSC but also of the MDM in this way that we don't want to react too harsh in a case of instability. We will do it much more smoother and more comfortable for the car driver, and with this you can also go with more confidence with the car. In MDM we allow nearly a steady slide of the car. In the past we tried to control every slip situation case by case. Now it's much more comfortable to control and much more performing on the track. So we have some changes in the steering. It's not in the gear ratio, but more in the setup of the different setups you can choose for the steering system. So it's a new setup of the electronic software application of the steering in the car, in combination with a bigger engine on the front, but also with a CFK and precision strut on the front axle. With this new dimension of the M2, we want also to increase the power. And we are limited with the old car, with the older engine, up to 370 horsepower. Now we can offer 410. This is one point, and then the other point is with this more modern engine we can also handle regulation and emission points. This is more future focused, this engine in the combination. I think it sounds different to the M2. It's not only a theme of the exhaust system, it's a combination of the engine with the exhaust system. So we have now 2 turbochargers in comparison to the M55. And on the other point is we have now a 2 floating exhaust system, and in the N55 we have a 1 floating. So it's a different kind of sound. I think it's not a good and a bad one, it's a different kind of sound. More comparable to the M3 and M4 sound. So we offer 2 new colors, sunset orange, one side, but not only, especially for the M2 competition. The Hockenheim silver is only for the M2 competition as a launch color, but also we think with a historic combination to the racetrack in Germany. We think this color fit very good to the design, exterior design of the M2 in comparison with the black shadow line in the exterior. We think it's a very good idea to take this color for the launch of the car. It's a typical M2 competition color. Nowadays we are not able to offer a carbon roof for the M2 competition direct by the factory. But we know there are a lot of hardcore fans who want to see a carbon roof on the M2 competition too. And therefore we are planning an after-sales solution which has to be installed by the dealership after the customer gets his own car, after the production. The new M2 Competition is available from now on. We have started with the production of the car. We have to differ a little bit between the countries. We have started for cars for the US, for example, and we will offer this car in the next months, and it's not with a limit. It's only depending on the capacity of the production plant.